Today, I'm at Jim Warren's skate park with Lou Ross, creator of Fickle Skateboards and social activist from Northside in Cincinnati, Ohio. Lou crafts each board with an intention to encourage young skaters to be who they are and not conform to the ideals of the modern skating culture. I'm Tai Chi. At 19, I was a superstar and I was lost inside. I left it all behind, switched continents, and started all over. Years later, I found myself lost again, this time in the American dream. This is a story about awakening, about living the life you were created for, about going inward and discovering the joyous and purposeful person you and I are both meant to be. This is Waking Up in America. Welcome, Lou Ross.
Thanks,
Woohoo! I'm so excited we got to do this. Kids are friends. Seth is one of my kids' best friends. And when we moved to Nashville, we miss Seth.
Yeah.
So you've been a part of our lives, and I always been just fascinated by your dedication to make this world a better place.
Thanks, Tai Chi. Thanks.
So you make skateboards.
That's one of the things I do. I make skateboards in a little workshop that used to be a mortuary in the basement of my house.
Wow.
That used to be a funeral home. So when we moved in, we had a big parking lot in the back that's slowly turning into a personal skate park. And we had an embalming table with all the gut hooks and bone saws downstairs. It was crazy. When we first bought our house, they took out our embalming table and our basement became just a creepy basement instead of a full embalming mortuary. But now that it has a bay of skateboard pressing equipment in it, I've got 3 presses and a full art room and a spray room for making America's skateboards. 300. Wow. I make about 300 a month maximum.
That's a lot.
It's not. It's very few. Most
Okay.
factories are pumping out 40,000 to 100,000 units.
Yeah, but these are handcrafted.
Right. I'm handcrafting all of them. But I use the same tools that the factories use.
Okay.
So it's less handcrafted as it is batch made, small batch. And that's why the real difference between them isn't that hands are making them, is that it's just the smaller batches mean greater care and a greater guarantee.
And what I know about you and what you do and how you do it, you're breathing life into each skateboard as you're saying it out.
Dude, people are riding on positive juju soaked skateboards now. I mean, when I'm down there, if I'm bummed out, I don't make them, which is why I've had to really guard my heart. You know, a wise man once said, "Guard your heart, for from it are the springs of life."
Yes.
And so I've had to really take time away from production at times to make sure that my inspiration is intact, because it's my inspiration, my love of skateboarding, and my love of people who skateboard. I have strong feelings about people who choose to go out and skateboard today.
So, as a mother of 3 boys, you know, I don't know much about skateboard because they're not yet in that, you know, Dante's only 14 right now. But, so, you know, the little that I know, skateboarding is usually connected with a certain culture.
Right.
You know, punk, rebellious.
Look at me.
Drugs.
Tattoos, crazy hair, you know, borderline habits. Yeah.
But I watched one video where the guy says, skateboarding allows me to be who I am.
Yeah.
It's giving me this freedom to be who I am without worrying what other people will think. Talk to me about that.
So I started skateboarding in 1985. I was 12, and I didn't know any skateboarders. But I saw a skateboard at the KB toy store in Danbury, Connecticut, in the mall. I remember seeing it, and I said to my mom, it was a couple days before my birthday, and I said, "Mom, I know what I want for my birthday. I want that." And she just bought it for me, and it was really wonderful. Took it home, and I started to ride it every day in the subdivision. New subdivision went up across the street, flat blacktop, banked curbs, and I didn't know anything about skateboarding, and I just started to push around, and I started to ride the board up onto the curbs and scratch my axles on the curbs and come down. And all on my own, I was riding my skateboard.
So you were a clean-cut kid, good grades in school,
I was a pretty isolated, nerdy little kid with my parents are intellectuals and smart.
I'm totally making a social judgment.
Well, I think it's not wrong to make social judgments. I mean, I've made the joke before. I'm not here to judge people. I'm here to collect samples.
Yes.
So my school experience was pretty unpleasant. I didn't interface well with other kids because I was sensitive and I cared about things that, man, I've always been really sensitive about bullying. I never like when people pick on other people, and that's all there was in New York back then in that culture. So I was kind of a loner and pretty maladjusted, I'd say. And on my skateboard, I found a sensation of freedom that was, transcendent. I could have a terrible day at school and come and roll around on my skateboard, push, push, push. I didn't do tricks. I didn't have an idea of measuring up to any social like values, like being cool.
Right, pressure to perform.
There was no pressure to perform. There was nothing. And so my dials were set, and still are, to the experience of motion at will, and the freedom of getting a relief from the grinding pressures of social issues by riding my board. So from there, I met a few people, and they rode skateboards. And I got introduced to the trick people. The guys who read the magazines, read the ads, and think they need to be like that.
Right.
And they live in a pressure cooker. Some of them have the gifts and the talent it takes to measure up and enjoy status.
Well, that's what first came to my mind. Like, I'm looking at the skateboard park here, and I'm thinking, if I was here, I would be like so super conscious that my tricks are not really.
Yeah. See the little girl with the pink and blue hair?
Yes.
I said to the guys with me, I said, this little girl with the pink and blue hair on a little blue board with the pink wheels, I said, if that is the spiritual image of what's happening when I'm riding my skateboard. She was just so happy and colorful, and she was not at all in touch with having to measure up. She wasn't looking at any of us. She just loved her toy skateboard.
So what we perceive as insecurity actually is, you have to be pretty secure to show up at a place where people are doing tricks. Or maybe it comes from a place of longing to belong and to maybe challenge yourself, or...
That's a huge part of it. I think one reason there is a mainstream skateboarding culture. Skateboarder, okay. So mainstream skateboarding culture, you can open the mainstream magazines. You pretty much have to wear a certain cut of pant, a certain kind of shoe. You have to pretty much have a certain aesthetic. Now I enjoy that my preferences fall. I look kind of like that. And I enjoy acceptance on the superficial level because I look like a skateboarder. I do, I fit with the mainstream of skateboarding. And it doesn't bother me that I fit in. It doesn't bother me to fit in. It doesn't bother me to not fit in. I'm independent of that. My mind is me, and my spirit is me. So being who I am in my inner world, I don't have the drive to measure up. I don't have the drive to do those things because I'm still 1985 rolling around before the boys told me that I had to do tricks. And I got good on my skateboard. And I got good on my skateboard without... I remember when I was young, I would skate with my friends. And some of them were doing really advanced stuff. I remember one kid, and he would do kickflip melon grabs, big trick, on a mini ramp. And he was 12. And by the time he was 14, his knees were done. I remember as a kid thinking, why would what social pressure would make me value learning kickflip melon grabs and blowing out my knees as a kid rather than just learning stylish, enjoyable, long line grinds and maneuvers that are fun to do at speed? Why would I spend time? Now, some people love the challenge, and there's an authentic journey there. So I can't look at the outside and just judge those people. I'm passionate about empowering people to dare to be who they are and to skate differently if that's their thing. To skate at a lower skill level if that's more appropriate for who they are.
For who they are.
And to take it down to basics and learn to have elegant and high quality basics rather than constantly trying to do some poppy flippy maneuver or some high risk maneuver that's going to get them blasted. Whereas my critique is that the mainstream culture lifts up high risk, very difficult level. I call it the mainstream culture has for 20 years exalted almost unattainable skill levels with completely unsustainable risk levels. And I've been watching it. Through the 90s, everyone was jumping down stuff. Everyone was, just going nuts, trying to get the banger trick. And I resented that. As a human being, I resented the culture of having to do the banger trick and measure up. I resented it a lot.
I identify, with that as a musician. I never was interested in playing the fastest or, like getting the chops and just showing off.
Right.
I just really wanted to affect through the gift. And I see that's what you do. You're a social activist. You're a leader.
Yeah.
You're like out there on the scale. You're
And
doing more than...
I'm saying really unpopular things like, hey kids, one of my favorite, the Facebook post is really where it's at for me. My Facebooking is pretty controversial and I'm really enjoying it.
Okay, check it out.
Controversy's a good thing.
It is a good thing,
I think it can be a good thing if it's stimulating an awakening of thought, and if it's stimulating people to reevaluate thought systems that maybe they were highly invested in. And if you question authority, if you reevaluate your relationship with idea systems like mainstream skateboarding's exaltation of high risk and unsustainable, skill level, and risk levels and all this. If you look at this, one of my favorite ones is to say, hey kids, if somebody tells you have to have this new hat, don't sleep. They say, don't sleep. Get to the skate shop and buy this new hat. Don't sleep. Get to the skate shop or get to the store and buy this new this or that. Don't miss out. Don't be left behind. All those messages, to me, those are insidious. Those are, what do they call it? Pernicious, man. That's sick. And it makes me feel the emotion of anger. Yes. As an old punk rocker who grew up and cut my teeth on the value of individual thought. And that same ethic has driven me outside the mainstream. I make skateboards not because I love wood. I make skateboards because I can't have a skateboard brand unless I can believe in the product. I couldn't control the product with the factories. I couldn't believe in the product as the proprietor. And I love skateboard branding. I love running a brand because running a skateboard brand is the way that I can reach to the culture and say, hey kid, you don't need the hat. You don't need the pants. You don't need the right shirt. You are. Whatever you wear is right because it's on you.
Yeah.
Your spiritual being, your intellectual being is what is most important. So if you come to the skate park and you are enjoying doing some maneuver that everyone else might be taught through our media, that it's a Barney move or a kook move or like that, well, we want to tell you that no. You do you. But what a lot of people weren't ready for is how brave you have to be.
Well, and that is hugely empowering, and that's what we're all trying to do, is to say wake up, and that even as a kid you're gonna have this place, it's a skateboard park, and you're gonna learn, you're gonna practice showing up the way you are, and then you can apply that in other areas of life.
The skateboard parks are really interesting because they're like a pressure cooker. They take what I learned slowly and they make everyone cross-pollinate. It's wonderful. I love it. I want there to be diversity. I want there to be cultural diversities. I want there to be, I really don't want there to be misogyny and racism and phobias of any kind. I don't want homophobia or xenophobia, or any of the. Yeah, arachnophobia is okay. You can keep that one because spiders are pretty much horrible.
So you can show up in your shirt, like you said, who you are. If you're a clean cut, or if you're
riding a scooter, or if you're on rollerblades, or on a ripstick, or if you're rolling and enjoying motion like I did when I was a kid. I mean, we've got people who say the most horrible things about what you're riding at a skate park, and I realized that bigotry is something we become desensitized to.
Yes.
And if a human community is going to be bigoted about what you're riding at a skate park, then that community is definitely going to fall like dominoes when it's time to be bigoted about other things.
Yes, absolutely.
And we need to be careful about bigotry, and I call it fascism, the enforcement of community standards based on monetary values and subcultural values that I don't espouse.
But like you said before, if you question the authority, if you question and reestablish that connection with the truth, with what's the larger, you show up as who you are because you've practiced being yourself, and you were brave enough to show up as yourself. That is huge.
In our industry, in skateboarding, if you do that, you'll be run out of business. very quickly, because the number one thing in skateboarding, the number one rule, even it was published in an article by Jenkem magazine this year, is don't speak evil of the industry. Whatever you do, do not break with loyalty of the established monetary industry.
But that's the thought. That's the thought that to me is completely contrary to the American spirit.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's why I'm so interested in stories like yours and the work that you do. And you say it's the sticks that stirs.
Oh yeah, our ad in Confusion magazine says skate sticks specifically crafted for stirring the pot.
To stir the pot.
So the existence of a workshop brand is not new, but the thing is that my brand exists in an activist capacity. I make skateboards in a workshop for one brand, direct to the customer, with a team representing an ethic in skateboarding of wide open acceptance, diverse stylistic manifestation, and open cultural welcome to whatever your background is. So when you're skateboarding, all the stuff you worry about how you fit in society, it's my belief that doesn't matter when we're rolling on skateboards. You could be on the opposite end of the political or social spectrum from me. When we skateboard together, that's not there. And I want to nurture that, preserve that, create it where it doesn't exist. Make sure that the fat kid and the kid whose skin is a different color, the kid who is struggling with acceptance around their sexual identity, the kid who is struggling with acceptance around their socioeconomic identity and strata. We want those the strata to be destroyed when we're rolling together. And I'm passionate about that through my branding. I'm passionate about that in my business. And I've gone ahead and said so. And I've criticized our mainstream culture. Skateboarding subculture used to be a manifestation of the American spirit. Independent thinking, independent living, independent lifestyle choices. It's been subverted. And I remember the American spirit. I mean, let's talk about that for just a second, because America has been on the one side about independent exploration and identity, but on the other side, America has been about conformity and about manifest destinies of monetary, we've always had both going. There's always been a tradition of conflict in America.
Yes.
And I'm continuing the conflict.
Well, I think what you're doing is you're awakening people and providing the right amount of controversy. Right. Thank you, to cause the awakening.
You need 12 good men. You can only find 11. There are 6 young lives still waiting for number 7. I may be living on earth, but I'm living for heaven.